What's going on, guys? It's Jacob from Topside MMA, and today I'm going to bring you my quick picks for UFC 318. Now, this is just a quick picks video. We're just going to dive into these fights just a little bit, just dip our toes in the water here. The full card breakdown is going to be later this week, but I just wanted to have something quick and early in the week to give you guys just a little scoop for what's coming later in this week. So, we'll start off with Carli Judice versus Nicolle Caliari. These girls are both dogs. They're both going to fight until the bell rings. They're both finishers, although they've never been finished. I think this is going to go long. I think they're going to go to war. This is going to be a pretty good fight, and I lean Carli ever so slightly. I think these odds should be tighter than they are, though. Carli's longer. She's going to be hopefully the better striker from range, but Nicolle Caliari, she's a good grappler. She's going to go for the takedown, so it's a matter of who can really stick to their game plan and have the better show. I lean Carli, but this one is a close one. Now, moving on, we got Brunno Ferreira versus Jackson McVey. Jackson McVey, he's undefeated in the regional scene, but we haven't seen much of him. All of his wins are first round finishes, and we know he has good submission game, he has good grappling, but we don't know about his hands. They're not looking so good, especially compared to someone like Brunno Ferreira. Brunno Ferreira is extremely dangerous. He's a finisher. All of his wins are inside the distance, and all of his losses are inside the distance. His cardio has been a concern in the past, so as long as he can keep the gas tank conserved and he doesn't burn out early, he should be able to win this fight. He's a big favorite. Jackson is just, there's too many unknowns about him, so you can't have confidence in him. And we've seen Brunno do well in the UFC level so far. And he's a dog. He's a finisher. He's talented everywhere. The only concern is his gas tank. So give me Brunno. Confident in this pick. He should win this for sure. Moving on, Ryan Spann versus Lukasz Brzeski. You got unreliable versus unreliable. Ryan Spann has never looked to his full potential in the UFC, although his move to the heavyweight hasn't been my favorite move from him. You know, it just makes it seem like he doesn't want to cut weight anymore. But on the other hand, you have Lukasz Brzeski, who is 1-5 in the UFC now. He has a glass chin. He's not going to be durable. A guy like Ryan Spann, this should be a layup for Ryan Spann. He should be able to get him out of there early because he has no chin. Ryan Spann is dangerous. He's talented. He's well-rounded. He's the better fighter everywhere. It's just he's so unreliable. That's why these odds are closer than they should be. But Ryan Spann is a confident pick. He should get it done early. It could be KO, could be decision. It should be early. Moving on. Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. Prachnio is a karate one-trick pony. That's all he has. Jimmy Crute, the problem with him is that his heart hasn't been out of it. He hasn't had a win in 4 or 5 years. That's why these odds are so close. But the grappling game is not even close. Jimmy Crute has such a huge grappling advantage. The second this fight goes to the mats, it should be over. Jimmy Crute should get an early submission here. I'm confident in his ability to do so. He just signed a new fight contract extension, which shows that his heart is still in the game. He's just had a rough start, and he's young enough to where he can really have a bounce back with his career. I like him here. As long as he plays a smart game plan and takes it to the ground, he cannot stand and strike with Prachnio. He could get knocked out. So it's a matter, can Jimmy Crute stick to a smart game plan? Hopefully he does. He should get an early submission. Moving on, Adam Fugitt versus Islam Dulatov. Dulatov is the absolute beast with hands that are just fast as hell. He lands with bombs in every shot he has. He's a damn Versace model on the side. Now he's doing MMA full time. Came from a war-torn Russia to Germany to train. He's trained with his brothers his entire life, and he's a dog. He should be doing well in the UFC. I'm excited to see how he does because he looked great on the Contender Series. And he's fighting Adam Fugitt. I like him. He's a dog. He did win a round against Michael Morales, who is undefeated in the UFC right now. He's doing great. So that did give me a little bit of confidence. I think this line might be a little shot just because we haven't seen Dulatov against any high-level competition yet, except for the Contender Series win. But I just think what we've seen from Dulatov so far has been so impressive. His hands are so damn fast. We've seen Adam get finished before. And the thing with Adam, too, he's not training at a great gym, which is concerned me a little bit because he's just training with the guys he's known. And yeah, I'm not super confident in Adam, but he is a dog. He is a dog. These guys are going to stand and bang. They're going to scrap. I just hope Islam Dulatov is well-rounded enough in all areas to be able to maintain, because I know Adam has been able, he can land takedowns if he wants to. So I hope Islam is well-rounded enough because we just haven't seen enough from him, but he does have the submissions on his record to suggest that he is well-rounded. So I'll do Islam Dulatov. Not the most confident. I think the odds are a little bit wide, but yeah, I like him in this one. He should win because just Adam loses to the good UFC fighters, and he loses to the good ones, and he beats the bad ones. So I think Islam Dulatov is a genuine talent, and he should be good enough to beat Adam. Moving on, Ateba Gautier versus Robert Valentin. Now, Ateba Gautier has hands of steel. He beat Jose Medino by knockout in round 1, and that guy was supposed to have an iron chin that could not be cracked. then you have Robert Valentin, who he has shown numerous grappling holes in the UFC career. He's lost both of his UFC fights because of his lack of grappling. Now, Gautier is just an absolute specimen with iron hands, but I think if he takes it to the ground and he gets a ground and pound, that would be the most likely outcome here. He's just so powerful. He's so strong. He hits so hard. And Valentin really hasn't been anything impressive in the UFC. It feels like a layup for Gautier, where he can really get a showstopper going and build up his hype a little bit more. So, yeah, I'm confident in him. He should be able to get this done. The second he gets it to the ground and pound gets going, this should be over. Next up, Francisco Prado versus Nikolay Veretennikov. I like Francisco Prado. He's a dog. You know, he's short and he's stocky, but he knows how to throw hands. He's done well, and he's fought good guys. Like he fought Zellhuber, who's later on this card, and he even picked up a round against him. So I think his striking is decent. And on the other hand, you have Nikolay Veretennikov, where his biggest concern has been his ground game. He has been exploited. Both of his losses because of that. Or I guess, no, his last loss was because of that. The first loss he lost in the striking match against Danny Barlow, who is now 1-1 in the UFC, or might have a positive record, but he's fresh. He's a rookie. You know, he just got knocked out bad in his last fight, so that loss hasn't aged as well. But Francisco Prado just hasn't really had a chance to prove himself enough yet. Neither of these guys have really reached their potential. But the thing is Nikolay is 35 years old. We've already seen the best that we're going to see from him. I don't see him improving very much. Whereas Francisco Prado, I think he's 23 years old right now. He's very young, very fresh. We're going to see him get better and better with every single fight. And we know the huge hole in Nikolay's game is his ground game abilities. So if Prado is able to exploit that even the slightest bit, he's going to easily win this fight. I like Francisco Prado here, as long as he can either take it to the ground and exploit that or somehow win a striking battle. But I think that's a lot more risky. I hope he watches the tape, he can see, all right, Nikolay has no ground game. Let me take him down. And I think he's going to look better and better with every fight. So I like him in this matchup. Moving on. We got Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. We have unreliable versus unreliable. Now, at this point in 2025, I'm not picking Marvin Vettori over anyone, even though Brendan Allen makes it damn hard. Like Brendan Allen has been very unreliable in the sense of that he doesn't stick to the right game plan. He doesn't take the fight list or the path of least resistance. He doesn't do that in his fights. He makes it harder than it needs to. And he's lost wins. His last two losses are because of this exactly. But the thing with his last two losses is at least they were very close. They were very competitive. Yeah, he might have done dumb things like going for a submission over a position, and that might have cost him. But I think at the same time, his skill level is so high. I think it is higher than Marvin Vettori. I think this is Brendan Allen's fight to give up or lose himself. It's going to come down to if he can stick to a game plan, if he doesn't gas out, and if he really stays focused and he can do what he needs to do. So hopefully his fight IQ is in the right state here for this fight. And if it is, he will win this fight. I guarantee it. Because Marvin Vettori just has not looked himself. The older he's gotten, the worse he's looked, which is crazy because these guys are both pretty young. They're 29, 30 years old. And it's kind of weird the way that he's looked. But I like Brendan Allen. I think he's really talented. He has all the talent to be phenomenal. It's just his fight IQ, decision-making skills, they have really kind of hurt him in the last couple matches. But I like Brendan Allen in this one. Not too sure how he's going to get it done, decision or sub. Obviously, Vettori has an iron chin, but either way, I like Brendan Allen in this one. So, moving on, Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. Now, Kyler Phillips sold pretty much everyone with this fight against Rob Font. He gassed and he was beaten down. He didn't have the dog in him. He kind of crumbled under the pressure. And that is not, if you are a person who crumbles under pressure, your worst nightmare should be Vinicius Oliveira. This dude has no quit. You have to kill that man to get him out of there. In his last fight, we saw he went to war with Said Nurmagomedov, who I think would beat Kyler Phillips, and he broke him late in that fight, and he dogged it out. So now Vinicius is going against Kyler Phillips, who I don't think is as good as Said. I think he's going to have his way here. I think he's going to mentally break Kyler Phillips. And Kyler Phillips is very talented. He's well-rounded in every aspect of MMA. But his cardio has not held up, and he just doesn't have that dog in him. And against someone like Vinicius, who's just trajectory-wise, he is just up and coming. The momentum of his career is going in favor of him. And I think he's someone to look out for. The only way he loses is when he gets put out cold. This man has no quit. And I just don't know if Kyler Phillips is going to be the guy to knock him out. He has good hands, but he does too many spinning, random, high-energy movements, like flashy shit with his hands and his striking, to where against a guy like Vinicius, I just don't know if that's going to work. I think it could just take one hit for him to get rocked by Vinicius. So I like Vinicius in this. I just think he has more dog in him. He has more want, that hunger inside of him. And I think the last couple fights he's had, like Vinicius, his last fight against Said, proves that he can hang with high-level competition and he can outdog them. So I like him here in this matchup against Kyler Phillips. Moving on, we got Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. Now, Daniel Zellhuber had one of the best fights we've seen in a long time against Esteban Ribovic, and it showed that he can go toe for toe, shot for shot. He can go to war with anyone. And Esteban Ribovic has looked very good. You know, he's a high-level guy. And Michael Johnson is a legend of the game. He's a legend of the sport. He's fought the who's who's. He's fought the legends. He's fought everyone. And he's a GOAT. Everyone loves Michael Johnson, or maybe not, but everyone can respect at least the career of Michael Johnson. And it's just at this point in his career, he's 39 years old as a lightweight. It's just it's like the passing of the torch here. It's time for the young man to come in, the older man to step out. And Daniel Zellhuber, this feels like a layup for him. This should be where he shines. He should be able to outperform Michael here. He should be able to outstrike him from range. I'm confident in Daniel Zellhuber. He's still young enough. He's only 26 years old, so he's not extremely proven yet, as he doesn't have wins under his belt like Michael Johnson does. But I just think at 39 years old, it's very hard to go against Daniel Zellhuber here. This is where he should really get his standout win over some notable competition for the first time in his career. So, yeah, I like Daniel Zellhuber here. He should beat the 39-year-old Michael Johnson. So, moving on, we got Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. This is kind of similar, except Dan Ige is a lot more proven. Patricio Pitbull, he's proven in a different organization, but I am so over picking guys that come from other organizations to the UFC just because they never meet the hype. We saw with Patchy Mix, that was a shit show. Same with Patricio Pitbull. We saw he shit the bed too against Yair Rodriguez. He looked horrible in that fight. And against the guy like Dan Ige, who's looking better and better, his last win against Sean Woodson was absolutely insane. Got the knockout win, outclassed the taller, lengthier striker. I think Dan Ige is a very confident pick this week because Patricio Pitbull, he's 38 years old too. It's like, as featherweights, 38 years old is just, I don't know how he's expected to do this well. I think the line is a little bit wide, or I mean a little bit shorter than it should be. I think Dan Ige should be an even bigger favorite just because of the recent fights they've had. And I know you can have recency bias here, but I mean Dan Ige looked phenomenal and Patricio Pitbull is 38 and he looked horrible in his last fight. And it's both against high-level competition. You know, Yair is definitely higher than Sean Woodson, but they're close enough to where I still rank those wins relatively close. I mean, they're obviously not the same, but it's not like Dan Ige just beat up some bum. And in his last fight with Diego Lopez, he took a round off of him too. So Dan Ige can hang with the high-level competition in the UFC. We know that. But we don't know the same with Patricio Pitbull so far. I mean, his run in the UFC has not looked good. I don't expect it to get any better as time progresses. He was dealing with a neck injury he had surgery for 2 years ago. So I just think he's on the way out. It's just going to be a slow roll, kind of like a Michael Chandler. So, yeah, give me Dan Ige in this one. He should win this fight. Moving on. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland is more talented in every single regard. The only way he loses this fight is if he hurts himself or does some dumb shit, or Daniel lands a lucky Hail Mary knockout somewhere in this fight. Other than that, Kevin Holland has every single advantage, from age to the height to the reach to the striking to the ground game. Like, he's more talented everywhere. He should win this fight all day, every day. But, you know, Kevin Holland has lost some fights that he could have easily won, and he's not the most reliable, but, you know, Kevin Holland, he's super active. This is welterweight too. This is where Kevin Holland should be. I think he's taking his career seriously now. You know, he's really locking in. And, yeah, he should have this fight won 9 out of 10 times. Moving on. Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. I'm taking Roman Kopylov here. I just think he has more power in his hands. His career trajectory is going up, where Paulo Costa has just had a rocky couple years. You know, he hasn't looked good. Ever since that Adesanya knockout, he's just kind of looked like a former shell of himself. And he just hasn't looked good in recent years, too, especially against Strickland. Like, I just haven't liked his recent performances, where, at least with Roman Kopylov, we've seen him do well. In his last, when he fought Cesar Almeida, who's a good kickboxer, he was outdogging him in the first round. And yeah, he got tired because he had to start to shoot takedowns later on in that fight, but he still looked damn good in that first round. And I think if he doesn't have to stick to a takedown game plan, he's not going to gas out like he did in that fight. I think he's going to learn from that. And although his cardio has never been like insanely good, I think he's going to learn from that fight, that Cesar Almeida fight. I think he's learned from that, and he should be able to keep this on the feet, especially against a guy like Paulo Costa. He's not going to try and grapple. I know some people are saying, well, what if Costa shoots a takedown? I think this fight is going to keep, the entire duration is going to be on the feet. I don't see these guys grappling and wrestling. So I think this is going to be on the feet. It's going to be a kickboxing match. I like Roman Kopylov. If anyone's going to knock the other one down, it's going to be Roman knocking down Paulo Costa. So for those reasons, I like Roman Kopylov in this fight. I think he gets it done. Could be a knockout. Could be a decision. Who knows? But I like Roman Kopylov in this one. Now, the final event, main event. We got Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. I like Dustin Poirier in this one. You know, he's already beat the man twice. This is at lightweight, and I know Max Holloway's fought at lightweight before, but it's just you got Dustin Poirier, who's a natural lightweight, and he's fighting in his hometown, which supposedly is a retirement fight. And Dustin Poirier is just a dog. I really like him in this matchup. This is going to be close. You know, I do think the odds are, I think they should be flipped. I think Dustin should be a slight favorite. But I think there's a little recency bias with Max Holloway versus his fight with Gaethje. But if you look back at that fight, Gaethje broke his nose in like the first round, and that completely hindered his performance throughout the entire fight. And it's probably the only reason he got knocked out in that 5th round. So if you take away that fight, you have Dustin Poirier, he's fighting out lightweight where he's been. You have Max Holloway coming up. I like that lean for Dustin Poirier. That's why I think the odds should lean towards Dustin Poirier a little bit. He's going to have the crowd going absolutely insane for him too, his hometown crowd. So if there's any rounds that are just, barely on the fence, they're going to go for Poirier because the crowd's going to be going crazy for him. And there's a lot of reasons too, but I like Poirier in this one. Although it is a coin toss, I think he gets it done. So I think he can ride off into retirement. And if he gets the belt, if he gets the BMF belt and he wins this fight, you know, maybe he doesn't retire. Maybe he does one more. So who knows? But anyway, guys, that has been it for my quick picks video. Like I said, I will have my full in-depth full card breakdown coming later this week. But I just need to do a little bit more work behind the scenes with that. So, yeah, look forward to that. And I'm also going to have some breakdowns. I'm going to have some betting breakdowns. I'm going to have some best picks. And yeah, there's going to be more videos for UFC 318 coming to the channel. So yeah, without further ado, guys, thank you so much once again for watching. And it's been your boy Jacob. So I'll see you guys soon. Peace.